everyone, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with another book review of a newly released book. This is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes, and this came out in February. This is a space horror book, kind of, but more, I think it was a horror book with a space twist. I don't know. It wasn't very spacey, unfortunately. I'll get into that. So this is a book about a woman named Claire, and she is the team leader, kind of like a captain on a crew that deals with like the communications web in space, and they're out pretty far from Earth and they catch an emergency beacon signal. And they're really reluctant to go and chase after this emergency beacon, but they figure it's the right thing to do, even though it's quite far away. So they decide to do that, and they get there, and they realize that the ship whose emergency beacon signal they caught was a previously missing ship called the Aurora that was a luxury space liner. And it was kind of like the Titanic for outer space. It was supposed to go on a tour for a year, and then halfway through its tour around, I don't know, the fucking solar system, the universe, it went missing. And there has been no sign of it. It's just been lost until now. And Claire's crew has found it. So they have a tough decision to make. They don't know whether or not they should go on the ship. They don't know whether they should turn back. They don't know whether they should call it in and like have someone else come and figure it out. But they figure that if it's been 20 years, the people inside could not possibly be alive with the supplies and things that they had. So they decide to board the ship, and inside there are a bunch of dead bodies. But they can't really find out the cause of all these deaths, because it doesn't seem like just a ship that's run out of supplies. You know what I mean? So very quickly, it all gets very complicated. There's some like business politics involved and stuff like that that I won't get into. You'll have to dig into that for yourself. But the story gets very complicated, is what I'm saying. And their decision gets very complicated. And then we also find out that this has happened in the past, and we also have a timeline where Claire is in the present day, and all we know is that she is the only survivor, supposedly. She doesn't really know. She doesn't know what happened to her crew, and how she got back to Earth by herself, and things like that. And so that's like the first sign that maybe this isn't gonna be a great story. So what did I think about Dead Silence? Have I been calling this Dead Space? I really hope not, because I've called it that like 40 times thinking about this book. Dead Silence. Just so we're clear, it's called Dead Silence. It's not Dead Space. Dead Space is a space video game, and this is nothing like Dead Space. This is Dead Silence. How did I feel about Dead Silence? I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, I guess. There were some parts that I found really interesting. I think if you're looking for a horror book set in space, like this kind of would work for you. But I wouldn't really call this like hugely sci-fi horror, because the space aspects of it are so sparse and undescribed. And I don't know if that's because this author was pandering to an audience that they assumed would have like sci-fi experience, like books set in a ship experience, because a lot of it was just like unexplained and not described at all. And I found that really hard for me, because I'm not really a huge sci-fi reader, and I haven't really read all that many books that are set in a spaceship. So the fact that the author left so much of this out really made it hard for me to visualize what was going on in this book throughout the time, both in like their ship that the crew is supposed to be in, and then also in their time on the Aurora. And there really wasn't that much like exploration of the Aurora, which I really wanted. They do some exploring, but I really wanted to like know all about this fucking ship. You can't say this is like the Titanic and just leave it like that. Like, I want to know what's going on in there, and there just wasn't enough of that for me. It's not like there wasn't any. There was some. It just wasn't enough. So I don't know if the author is expecting more experienced sci-fi readers, or if she was just trying to really dumb it down for people who didn't read sci-fi, which also, like, that kind of makes sense, but then it leaves me not being able to know, like, where are they? It's like in my mind they're just in this, like, white space, because I don't know. I just need a setting. You know what I mean? I need a setting. You can't just tell me that they're in a ship. I need to, like, know what they're doing and how they move around, and, like, where are they in the ship? Are they just, like, in an air balloon? You know what I mean? Are they just, like, in a blimp? What's going on in there? There was just none of that, and it drove me kind of fucking crazy. I really, like, not having a well fleshed out setting really messes up my reading. I'm finding that more and more as I read some books where, you know, that's not well fleshed out. So the other problem I have is Claire's not being able to remember anything after a certain point that happens on the Aurora. You know, like, in the present day setting, she doesn't know how she got there, and she doesn't know if her crew's alive or not. I felt like that was such a cop-out, because this next part, I might go into some mild spoilers. I'm not going to tell you the plot. I won't want that. I won't do that. But some people are very sensitive to spoilers, and I'm one of those people. So I want to let you know. I'm going to put my book down, and I'm going to talk about spoilers for a second. So I felt like her memory lapse was such a cop-out, because then it leaves this huge space where the author just, like, doesn't have to create a story. You know what I mean? It's like Claire gets hurt in the middle of this big thing happening. She's unconscious. She wakes up on Earth. And it's like, we just don't get any of that shit then. We have no fucking idea what happens. And I think leaving out parts where Claire has no memory really did the story a disservice, because that's, I think, what I would have liked to hear about the most. So the story doesn't end there, fortunately. There's some stuff that happens with Claire in the present day that does get a little more interesting, I thought. I'll let you read that for yourself. I don't want to give too much of the plot away, of course. But overall, I just, like, wish there would have been more space shit. You know what I mean? And there just wasn't enough space shit. Like, kind of knowing what happened to Claire in the Aurora just does not do enough for me. It does not. Just, like, I wanted to see it for myself. I want to know what happened for myself. And I think the author did their audience a huge disservice leaving that out like that. So that's Dead Silence for you. I'm not having a great time with the books I'm reading this month. I will tell you that much. It's not been, like, terrible, but it's not been great, and it's really harsh in my mellow. And I hope that the rest of the books I read this month are much better, because, like, what the fuck is what I want to know. How dare the universe do this to me? I have a link down below. If you'd like to pick up your own copy of Dead Silence, you can do that through bookshop.org, and that helps both my channel and indie bookstores. You can even choose a bookstore of your own choosing for the proceeds to go to. Of course, let me know if you've read this, what you thought, whether you liked it or not. Let me know if I've convinced you to pick this up. I never want to, like, not convince people to pick up a book, of course. Like, if you think that you're going to like this, definitely pick it up and see for yourself, because I'm just one fish in the ocean with a bad opinion about a book, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. That's it, I guess. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you later. Goodbye.